I'm going to start with the central nervous system, and we'll learn a little bit about the structure of the brain and then the structure of the spinal cord. The brain surface has lots of ridges and groups. It's not smooth. The ridges have a name. They're called a gyrus. An individual ridge is a gyrus. Um, and multiple gyruses are called gyri. So the plural for gyrus is gyri. A space between two gyri is called a sulcus, and if it's large, it's called a fissure. And there's a very large fissure that runs down the length of the brain that's called the longitudinal fissure. So here you see the longitudinal fissure. These, and I'll go back to these, this is the central sulcus right here. So these spaces between the bumps, the gyri, are sulci or sulcus unless it's really large and it becomes a fissure. The reason that the brain looks like this is because it's basically folded in on itself to allow it to have more brain area, more brain matter in a smaller space. If our brains were smooth, they would be enormous. We would have these great big gigantic heads. So this makes us a bit more attractive. The central couple things about the cerebral hemispheres, they're mirror images of each other for the most part. There are some slight differences, and we'll talk about that when we talk about things like language. Language is in the left hemisphere, but for the most part, they're mirror images of each other. It's as if nature said this organ is so important, we're going to give you two. The same way we have two eyes, we have two ears, we have two arms, we have two legs. It's so important that we need two of them. And you can actually live a normal life with only one hemisphere if it's removed early enough in life. There's a caveat to that. And you'll see in the forum for this chapter, there's a couple of videos of children who had a hemispherectomy because of terrible seizure disorders. Now, there is a band of neurons, and there's never a good picture of the corpus callosum because it always looks flat, but really it's a bridge or band of neurons that connects the two hemispheres together. So this was the best image I can find. In addition to the image in your text, I like to try to give you additional images, different images in the lecture so that you have multiple images. You can also function relatively normally with a severed corpus callosum, and there is a thread in the forum for this chapter about what are called split brain patients where, again, for seizure disorders, they've severed their corpus callosum, but there you will see some interesting behavioral differences, but you have to get them into a laboratory and set things up just right in order for those differences to show.